But the scales, you know, when you're practicing, you don't have to practice quick all the time. What you want to practice is getting good. And for example, doing something like this. You get a good tone, you know. C in tune, because it isn't in tune with a gizmo anyway. And the number of times you play high C in your whole life is minimal, so gizmo's extra expense and gets in the way. I never had a gizmo, and I thought, well, it's a waste of time anyway. Now, practice your F major scale, for example. I mean, imagine making a rallentando on a scale. It could almost approach being music, couldn't it? When I practice the scales, I do them both methods. I do Taffanel and Gobert, and I do Moise, because you know the Taffanel reminds me of ironing shirts. You take the iron, you stick it on the shirt, you move it up and down, and when that bit's done, you do the next bit. You know, whereas the Moise is just a straight done. You know what I mean? So then when you've got your simple scales, you can begin to, after like about a week, if you're just doing 3 scales in a week, C major, F major, G major, right? If you just do these 3 scales for a week, you could get in pretty good shape on these 3 scales. But if you have to do all the scales, you ain't gonna get in shape on any of them, because, you know, with your timetable, you know, with the boyfriends and going down to the Starbucks and hanging out and watching TV and mowing the lawn because your dad's too lazy, and or he's in Starbucks, or the things that you have to do, you know. You really don't have the time to do all the scales and to do your pieces and to do your etudes and everything that's concerned with flute playing. It's very difficult. So what you do is a minimum, and you do what you can. And I suggest doing these easy scales because you can get them really in good shape after a bit. You see what I mean? This sort of thing. And after a while you'll become quite good, and then you have to start doing A flat and D flat and things, and that's when life begins to get a bit more serious, you know. Okay, now, when you're practicing the sonority, do take time to familiarize yourself with the flute, to get familiar with the flute, and not to follow these rules. You know, following rules doesn't make you familiar with things. You know, for example, supposing I see Mark every morning on the train going to work, and I say, hi. He said, hi. And we don't say anything. I could say, oh, I know this guy. I see him every morning on a train. But I actually don't know him, because all we ever did was say hi. Right? There's no communication. You need a communication between yourself and the instrument, and you have to build this up by talking to it. You see? Say, how you doing? Where do you live? You see? Yeah, right. I live in Lucerne. See how we're getting on here? All the stuff that we know about each other already in the space of 2 seconds. Well, how well are you going to get to know your flute if you're following these instructions from one of these stupid books? Fingers, don't move. You see what I mean about the fingers? Keep them near the keys because you might have to use them. You see a lot of people playing things like you seen that one? Now, when you're playing your scales, do keep the fingers near the keys. And of course you might notice by now, I'm sure you're all wondering why I play A natural like this. Right? Well, I can tell you, when I was a little kid and got my first flute, it was so big I couldn't hold it up. So I used to play A natural. And I still play A natural like that. And you know the funny thing is, it has a better sound. If you play A natural like this, and do this, I think it has a better sound. But you have to hold down the C sharp key as well. C sharp and D sharp key, and the F sharp key, and this thing. Try your A natural. Hold down the C sharp key, the D sharp key, F sharp key, and G sharp key. Alright. That's good. Somebody's playing F natural, it doesn't work on that. Now, don't tell anybody I showed you this, especially your teacher. Because you're supposed to use the regular fingering on the flute. The next sort of flexibility thing that Moise has is this thing. And I think it's a very good exercise, but you know, you need to sort of fool around with that too. You know what I mean? It's about familiarizing yourself with the instrument. And you do not get familiar with the instrument if you're following somebody's instructions who has not made a success of playing the flute but writes books instead. Right?